Good morning. Cup of tea definitely on the go. Yay! Lots of people on. I had loads of messages from people this morning saying, actually, I can't get on. I'll watch it on YouTube. Like, will it go on YouTube? And it absolutely will. But so nice that so many of you have like come on. Good morning, Catherine. Good morning, Maddie. Good morning, everyone. Oh, so nice to see people. Helen, well done for joining Instagram this morning. That's a really good effort. That's amazing. Good morning, Tegan. Oh, this is so nice. I was really nervous that there's going to be like me and 3 people because Saturday morning is like a really tough time to kind of try and find time. Good morning, Alison Bridger. How are we all? I've sent Josh and the kids out for a nice walk because I was like, normally the music's on so they can be around. But this morning, they can't because they will scream and one of them will have like some massive meltdown. So I was like, please, can you go out for a walk? So if you see Josh aimlessly walking, we won't because you're here with me. So the whole point of me kind of doing this is I feel like I'm doing lots of workouts for people. But also like there's a massive side to the nutrition part of everybody's diets. And I'm quite a big believer in like balance. I'm quite a big believer in the fact that you must have things you enjoy. And the reason I believe in those things is just to give you guys a bit of an insight. So those of you who don't know me, I've only been in fitness for like 6 years. Before that, I was a key accounts manager at Joules, looking after the kids wholesale. And I was like loving fitness then, just decided to do a PT course to kind of further my knowledge because fitness was quite a new thing for me. And then that's where it all started. Then I decided to kind of go out on my own and do it. And I was started with boot camps at the rugby club. And like the first night we had 5 and within like the first month we were like getting 20 to 30 people up there. So it was amazing. And then the girls came to me for the studio and that's how Studio Bell started. But prior to that, so when I first got into fitness, I was like a little bit obsessed. I have to admit, I was like obsessed. I was convinced as well to be a good personal trainer, I had to be inspiring, which is true, I think so. So I was going to go and compete. This is quite funny now when I think about it. I was going to go and compete bikini on a stage. So I'd spent like 6 months basically working with people, an amazing guy called Alex Ferentinos, who was amazing for my training. I was training day and night, hours a day. I was eating very basic foods, which actually Alex was good at the time because he was teaching me a lot about nutrition and how to get away from that broccoli, chicken and rice combo that everybody kind of goes through. And I'd gone to have a photo shoot with a guy who you kind of need to do this stuff to all, you know, to kind of build your profile. And I'd gone to do this photo shoot and while I was there to this guy, he wasn't ready. So I was like, can I have my lunch? And he was like, oh my God, like, somebody who's going to compete bikini actually eats. And it like really struck a chord with me. And he was like, if you compete bikini, you'll have such a bad relationship with food. Like I see girls in here every day of the week, they don't eat, you know, they're just, and that's not saying that there's people out there, but he kind of, I know there's a world of like bikini competitors and that's not me saying that. But for me, that really struck a chord because actually my eating was in a good place. He was saying to me like, your body fat's going to be the lowest it's ever going to be when you step on that stage. You're never going to be happy after. And all these things were just like, oh my God. So that was like a real moment for me. And he took a picture and obviously I hadn't had the 2 little ones yet, but he'd taken a picture of me that showcased my stretch marks that I'd got from having Casey. And he sent it to me and he was like, oh, this is an amazing picture. And I was like, yeah, shame about the stretch marks and I can't post. And he was like, no. And this was like a real turning point for me because he said to me, this picture will get more love than a picture without stretch marks will get. Let me absolutely assure you of that. So I like sat on it for a couple of days and was thinking, oh my God, that's like literally laying yourself out bare for everybody to see like your flaws. And then I just thought, this is the route I want to go down. This is why I want to inspire people for being like me, for being normal, for being, you know, for eating chocolate, for having stretch marks, for being like a normal person in a normal world and not the perfect person that I was just thinking was going to inspire people. So I posted that picture, to which it got an amazing response. And so many women who had stretch marks were just like, oh my God, like these are nothing, or this inspires me to like be proud of mine. So yeah, it was like a real turning point for me. But prior to that, when, before I got into the fitness, the reason why I fell in love with fitness was because I was doing, this is going to sound awful, but I'm going to be totally honest. So I was single. I was so nervous about, I recently split up with my husband, so nervous about being single again that I just stopped eating. And my daily diet was normally like Diet Coke, soft mints and some fruit. Now that sounds awful, but that is God's honest truth. But then I got into the fitness and realised that actually if I was working out, I needed the nutrition. So then my food came back in a really good way, but great food. And then I started kind of building this strong body. And that's when I felt good. Like even when I was at my lowest and my skinniest, which when I was single, I was awfully skinny. But it wasn't a nice skinny either because I couldn't maintain it. So I wouldn't go out for dinner with anybody because I didn't eat dinners. I was quite grumpy. Like I wasn't quite grumpy. I was always grumpy because I was hungry. So yeah, it was just like a really bad time that although I was probably the weight that I'd always loved and admired to be, and everybody was saying, oh my God, you look fantastic. It was just not a great place for me. It was like a really unhappy place. So I remember that place so clearly in thinking as well, like me and Josh had just first met and I was thinking, he's going to ask me out for dinner or he's going to cook me dinner. Little did I know he wouldn't cook dinner. But yeah, I kind of just thought I can't do those things because I don't sit down and eat meals. So when I started in the fitness and then my nutrition came in, it was like this balance of actually I can enjoy nice food, I can go out for a drink and I can train. And that's where it all kind of started. So I do want to really speak about like the balance of everything. And actually when you're at the weight that you think that you want to be, that actually it feels no better. But what does make me feel good, and this is something that is massive, is feeling fit. So putting my clothes on. So I always, when I was skinny, the skinny word, I always used to wear like a vest underneath anything I wore to hold everything in. Because although I was thin, I had no muscle, I had no tone. So everything was still quite wobbly. So when people go on these crazy diets and they lose a load of weight, normally what they do is they lose their muscle. So actually in turn, their body fat has gone through the roof compared to where they used to be, but they've now just lost all their muscle because when your body's hungry, it will eat your muscle. So you might see somebody with like, who's had this amazing transformation in weight, but actually their body, you know, they're now carrying, and okay, you know, you will get people who carry excess skin because they've lost so much weight. But sometimes you'll see people like running, you see runners and you'll think, oh my God, like they've got no muscle in their leg or they, you know, they're carrying a lot of cellulite and things like that. Like what you need to focus on is building a strong body. And that is the main aim for anybody. So I love it when somebody says to me, oh, I can see you work out. Like that is a true, massively accepted compliment for me. A compliment to me is not you're skinny. Like when I was ill last year, so many people were like, oh my God, you look great. It was like, I've just been in and out of hospital for 3 months. I haven't been able to breastfeed my child. Like there was nothing nice about that time at all. There was nothing nice about feeling skinny. I put a pair of shorts on back then and I was probably like 2 stone lighter last year when I was ill. I put a pair of shorts on then that I didn't wear because I looked awful in them. Yeah, now a year or so down the line, I'm wearing those shorts because my bum fills the gap and my tummy feels nice in them and my legs feel okay. Like I'm not walking around with the body that I feel like is perfect. And I can definitely pick out things in the mirror like you guys can. However, like them things are going to be there, whether I lose weight or not, or whether I train. I can train to make that better version of yourself. But you're never going to stand in front of a mirror and say, oh my God, this is perfect. This is exactly where I want to be. And all those amazing people that you follow on the likes of Instagram and stuff like that, they don't do it either. Like nobody is 100% happy with the way they look. So you kind of, that's the starting point of your battle, is accepting your flaws and just saying, right, I am just going to make myself a fit version so I feel good in my clothes. So if I go on holiday, I can get in my swimsuit and like accept what I see. But it's, there's a tale that I do say to PT clients a lot, and it's quite cliche, but everybody says it, in that speak to yourself how you would a friend. Now, if your friend was stood in front of you in her bikini and she was like, how do I look? That's you. Imagine that's you. You would not stand there and go, oh yeah, but you're kind of carrying a little bit around the thighs, or you don't have a thigh gap and your bum could probably do that. Like they're the things that we say to ourselves. yet so cruelly we do it and so easily. And I just think like that is a great starting point for getting your diet back on track, is going, actually, I'm just gonna, that flabby bit in my tummy, it's probably always gonna be there, but what I'm gonna do is make the rest of me great. And just know there will be things you can do for certain parts of your body, but there will also be things that it just won't, no matter the work you do, you kind of have to have a little bit of self-acceptance and a bit of self-love to say, do you know what? Speak to you how you would your friend that sits in front of you, and that's a great starting point. So that's kind of where this has all come from, okay? I don't disagree with slimming groups or slimming clubs. I'm not one for like saying don't go here or don't do that. I once did like slimming clubs back in the day, and for some people they really work. I kind of think that's the thing, is finding what works for you. And if that's a slimming club, absolutely. If that weighing in every week and that support, it's the same as PT clients. PT clients really, just sometimes it's not even about the training. Like they can get the training, they can do my free workouts. It's about that sharing your problems throughout the week to somebody and somebody saying like, it's okay. I remember a lady I once worked with, and it was on the run up to her wedding. And she was amazing. Like she looked phenomenal. She was absolutely ready for her wedding. But the reason she was ready for her wedding wasn't because she was eating everything perfect and she was doing everything right. It's because she'd been a bit easier on herself. And when she did have a bad day, she didn't then down herself. So that's the point. You get to the end of the week and then you be really naughty on a Friday night and then you're like, oh, I've absolutely undone it all. So what I'm going to do now is just eat badly for the whole weekend. It's accepting you're not doing anything bad by having a treat. Like you're just allowing yourself something that you really enjoy. And then on Saturday, you can be like, right, I'm going to get up, do a little workout, watch my nutrition a little bit tighter today because I really enjoyed. So last night, we had burger from the Prince Leo. So all week I've been knowing kind of that was coming. So I've been quite good this week, knowing that next week is birthday week, so lots of treats. And that's the thing, is kind of being mindful and saying, right, okay, I'm just going to be really, really careful. And I'm going to really enjoy my Friday night. And then my friend had bought me some cupcakes. So last night I was like, right, I've had my burger, so I'm going to have my cupcake. And then it's just all done in one night. And then this morning I can get up and think, right, today, back on it, granola and yogurt for breakfast, lovely walk later, maybe a little workout at some point. But yeah, it's kind of just, and that's where I kind of want you guys to get to, is just, it's almost not ramping it up, it's almost like pulling it back a little bit, because it is those things that do the detrimental effect. And those things that like ramp the calories right up when you've been naughty, and then instead of just allowing that night to happen and getting back on the diet, be good, be careful, train, you just go off rail. And it's kind of just jumping back on and getting back into a nice flow. And that sounds really easy, and I know it won't be. So there are tips and hints to kind of get through there. And that's not like my idea of telling you guys how to be good. So what works for me? So works for me is I exercise 3 to 4 times a week. I'm definitely at the moment looking much better than I was 3 months ago, because I'm training much more regularly. So at the studio, we tend to take classes, but a lot of it is when we're telling people what to do, or we're kind of getting involved, but the workout is for the customers. So we're like on them and making sure they're doing it good and they're getting the best out of their workout. However, these workouts that I'm doing here, I'm having to do everything with you, and I'm doing workouts I would never have normally done before. So my type of training has totally changed. So my glutes might not be as cheeky as they were before, but everything's changing, and I've definitely come out of a plateau that I was probably in with my training. So lockdown's almost done me good with my training. It's made me do things I would never do. It's made me work so much harder because I'm on camera in front of you guys. So yeah, training 3 to 4 times a week is definitely like happening for me at the moment. Walks. So I'm going on the days that I'm not training, I'm definitely going on walks with the kids. I know I've said it before, but when I'm out walking with the kids, I don't have to parent as much. So I am walking copious amounts. And if I'm honest, like if anybody's out there and they want to get into fitness but they don't know where to start, walking is like the best place to start, because there's no impact, there's no stress, you can go when you want, you don't have to have any equipment, and you could just say like, I'm going to walk for 10 minutes, and there are people out there who don't walk. So you could just go out for 10 minutes today and then leave it a day, and then the next day just try and increase it. Make sure like the places that you're going are places that you do think, wow, this is just amazing. So you kind of get that same endorphin buzz that you would get from like a really tough workout. But yeah, walking's definitely one in there. For me, I always try and make sure that my steps hit over 10K. Now, I know there's like lots of talk about whether that's, you know, whether that's important, but of course it's important. Like movement is important, so important. And walking is great because it uses everything, okay? That is the standard functional stuff that we need day to day. So walking is something that we should all be doing, and to give yourself a little goal. Now, I know some friends who work in an office who might hit 3,000 steps a day. That's like, wow, that's crazy, like compared to me. However, if they just up it to 5,000, that's another 2,000 steps a day, probably another couple of 100 calories, and actually over the week will make like a big difference. So the 10,000 for me is my number. However, your number needs to be equivalent to what you're doing. So there's loads of like step counters out there at the moment, and I think people are like, which one's the best? I think as long as you're wearing one, it will tell you consistently whether you're up or down on your usual. So you don't need to go out and spend a fortune on those. If you've got somebody in your life who's like really struggling and wants to start getting out walking, buy them like a little stepometer or something like that, or a nice little Fitbit or anything. You know, I wear the Fitbit, which I absolutely love. It just keeps me on track and reminds me on days, you know, just to make sure I'm up and about and moving. And it is so easy, I think, in lockdown to kind of sit down with some Netflix and chill. But I definitely feel like in the evenings, that's my time. So once the kids have gone to bed and we've had our dinner, that's the time I sit down. In the day, I'm typically not sitting down. I am up and about. I'm one of them annoying people who can't sit down, who has to be doing something. But that's where I'm burning that energy. So next time you're sat on the sofa in the day, just think, do you know what, I'm just going to go out and cut the grass, or I'm just going to go out and move. You don't have to do anything massively energetic. You just got to move. You've just got to move your body, burn some calories, okay? Steps, yeah, a big motivator for me on the watch. I absolutely love that. And if I'm being, so on the diet side of things, if I'm being really good, which I have been the last week or so, because I was kind of getting into that lockdown, like where I'm going to have a drink. I don't know what day of the week it is. So I've told myself now, drinks on Fridays and Saturdays, unless it's your birthday, you can drink all week. So next week, I'm probably going to drink all week. And today it's a friend's birthday, so I'm going to meet her for some bubbles, so I will drink then. But this is the kind of balance I'm talking about. It's like, last week, I knew this week was coming, so it kind of just gives you a bit of time to say, right, I know what I'm doing, I know what I'm doing. I'm not going to feel guilty for bubbles at lunchtime with my friend. And I'm not going to feel guilty about eating birthday cake next week. So I'm going to be really good this week. So when I'm being really good, I use MyFitnessPal. Now, MyFitnessPal, now I know it's had some bad press for kind of making people go to the extreme. Now, personally, in my opinion, those people were always going to be extreme. So if somebody was going to have, and I know I've got somebody on here today who's post-eating disorder. Now, hopefully she's going to come on at some point, not today, at another point, and talk about that. But I think if you're the kind of person who's going to fall into that extreme, it doesn't matter whether there's the tools there or not to do it. That's going to happen to you. It's probably something that you've always battled with, whether it's eating, whether it's OCD around the house, you know, things like that. I'm not a specialist by any means in that case, but I don't think by buying a Fitbit or by using MyFitnessPal. So you've got to be really careful with MyFitnessPal, because what it does, enjoy your bubbles, I definitely will. I think with MyFitnessPal, you've got to be really careful. Now, it will tell you how many calories you will need for yourself. And if you're ever worried about that, then message me. Like, I'm not a perfect calorie expert. Now, sometimes people have come to me and gone, I'm using MyFitnessPal, but it's telling me to eat like 1,400 calories. Way too low. What I would do is I would log your food for a week, see how many calories you're intaking on a normal week, and then reduce it from there. So if you're gaining weight or maintaining and really struggling to lose that weight, and you put it into MyFitnessPal and it says, right, every day this week you've had 2,500 calories. Well, we know that's too much. The average lady, and the average, there is no average, I know, but they've got to work within averages because they can't put everybody into a box, is 2,000 calories a day. Now that might not work for some people. People who are working out all day may need more. People who are stagnant may need less. So what you do is you track your calories, see what you're hitting, and then you can work back from there. Now what I wouldn't do is do this massive reduction, because if you do a massive reduction, it's just all going to come by the wayside, and then you're going to be struggling, you're going to be at a stalling point. So the best place you can do is do a week, take off 250 calories a day, 400 calories, something like that. Take it back, see how that works, and see if you lose any weight on the scales. I'm not a big scaly, but that's definitely going to give you an idea of like your sweet spot for calories. And then if you lose £1 a week, like that's perfect. And if I'm honest, you've got to be really careful with weight loss. So I can have PT clients come to me and in the first week they've lost like £2 and they're like, oh, I'm really disappointed with that when I used to go to so-and-so club. However, this isn't restrictive. This isn't short term. This is long term, okay? So what you want to think is £1 a week. £1 a week means you're not starving yourself. £1 a week means you're not going to the shop to buy foods that you wouldn't usually. £1 a week means you can still enjoy your goodie bits. £1 a week means it's maintainable, it's sustainable, like you can do this for life. Anything more is things where it's too restrictive. And that's where the problem happens, is that we just can't continue with that. Or we get bored, we get hungry. So if you make little tiny changes, then that £1 a week would be amazing. And if there's anybody out there with a lot of weight to lose, next year you could be £52 lighter. Now next year seems like a massive way off. However, you might be getting married next year and need to lose 3 stone. That's like a perfect way. And it's kind of like guaranteed that if you stick to these little tiny bits, that you will actually get there, opposed to trying to lose £3 and then having a chocolate bar and putting it back on and going up and down, as well as like the emotional and the mental effect that has on you. So this is like a slow, steady process. Now you might find by doing that you've been really naughty normally and you don't move a lot, so you are losing £2 a week. Now it's fine, don't get nervous and phone me up and go, oh my God, I lost £2 last week. It's not going to be sustainable. Because some people will lose weight quicker. However, don't be disheartened with £1 loss. Or don't be disheartened. So sometimes I can have people come in and get on the scales and then they're like, haven't lost anything this week. And it's like, show me your food log. Okay, so you did have like a Chinese on Friday and you did have like a glass of wine 3 nights. Like, it's just, you kind of just need to let go of that, like, oh, I've lost £1, so now I feel happy. Right, I've stayed the same, so now I don't. Don't let that scales depict your mood. And if you're feeling like, actually, I'm feeling really good, I had a really good week last week, I feel great, don't get on the scales. Leave it another week. Like, that's the problem. I can have people come in who are like, I'm feeling great, get on the scales, didn't lose anything, feel downhearted. So don't be jumping on the scales, definitely not every day. I would say like every 2 to 3 weeks is a fab place to start. But when you're first starting to look at those calories, you need to do it to see if your weight has dropped. So that's MyFitnessPal. So anybody who doesn't know MyFitnessPal, it's like a really good app. You can put your food in for the day. It will tell you, sometimes if you put your exercise in, it will give it you back in calories. Don't do that. Just use it for your food and log what you're doing. You can scan things, you can do recipes. So with like my granola, when I'm making my granola, I'll put all the bags of peanuts, all the nuts and everything, not peanuts, all the nuts and the oats and the honey and stuff. I put it all in, work out how many portions I'm going to get from that, and just work out what the calories and the fat and everything's going to be. And if I put something in that I'm like, oh, this looks good, this looks really healthy, and then I use it and it's like, this has gone way over your saturated fats for the day. It's kind of good because it teaches you, like about your portion control and about your sizes and about what calories. Like you might have like some sardines that are like 500 calories but they're really good. They're really good in fats, okay? It's not the end of the world if some days you go over. And also, if you know you've got something coming up at the weekend, you can go, right, okay, MyFitnessPal has given me 2,000 calories at the moment, so I'm going to pull it back to 1,750, which is going to give me 250 calories every day for 5 days. So that is another 1,250 calories. I had to work that out on the spot then. That's another 1,250 calories for me to go out on Saturday when I go to that barbecue with friends, and I don't have to feel guilty about. Also, I find it really good for some days when I feel like I'm having a really bad day and I've eaten too many of the kids' peanut butter sandwiches, and I input them and I'm like, actually, I haven't done anything wrong. I'm still within my calories. And now calories are different. Like you can't have 2,000 calories in chocolate. Like that's not going to work. That is going to be quite harmful. You have to get the right calories, of course, but it will tell you those things. You don't have to live by it. I just think every now and again to drop in and do a week, just to remind yourself of where your calories need to be and what your feed needs to look like, and that having that glass of wine hasn't done that much damage, because that's normally where the damage comes from, is you saying, oh, sod it, I've had that glass of wine, I may as well have the bottle and a bag of crisps as well. It's that does the damage, okay? Right, so when we're on a balance of things, and obviously balance is a big thing I talk about, it's kind of like what works, what in all the studies done, what works for losing weight. And basically, if you're here and you're not losing weight, you need to eat less, a little bit, not like a massive amount, and you need to move more. Now they say that it's 3,500 calories to lose 1 pound a week, okay? So 3,500 calories is equivalent to 1 pound of body fat, which is what we're aiming to do, is a pound a week. So if you are currently 2,000 calories a day and you reduce that by 500 calories, now that's quite extreme, but it's just an example. That's going to give you 3,500 calories. However, if you said, right, I'm going to reduce it by 250 calories, but I'm going to do a bit of exercise or a bit of walking that increases my movement by 250 calories, well then there's your 500 calories. And that doesn't sound like a massive amount. Now 250 calories can be 1 chocolate bar. So you've got to eat 1 less chocolate bar if that's your downfall, and go for a short walk. Like, that's not that taxing. When you think about the things that you have to do for some diets to get results, that's not a lot. 1 less bag of crisps, 1 more movement. Now you could just say, I've got my Fitbit on, I'm going to walk up and down the stairs until I get rid of 250 calories. Right, I'm going to go and clean the garden and do that. And then you'll find, like, you'll start to find your sweet spot. You'll start to feel like energized. You'll start to feel like really proud of what you're doing. And then the other stuff will come. So although it seems like this mean feat to get to where you want to be, it's actually not that complicated. You do have to make sure with your workouts though, that you've got like a really good mix of strength and cardio. Now, they're both great for different reasons. Now, and I'll go through in a minute like ways to increase your metabolism. And one way is to do HIIT workouts. So the idea with HIIT workouts is that they get your heart rate up, then they take it down, then they take it up, then they take it out. And then for the hours afterwards that you've worked out, so say your heart rate would normally be sitting at 60, because of that HIIT workout, your heart rate will have raised slightly for the rest of for the hours following. So you'll end up burning a little bit more fat post-workout, which is why HIIT is so great. However, the more muscle that you have within your body, the more calories you will actually burn on a daily basis. So you need both. You need the HIIT, which is why strength and conditioning workouts are so effective, because you're building the muscle and then you're having that blowout at the end to kind of get that endorphin rush, to get that big blowout. So don't go for just one type of workout. And I think for me, that's what's changed in lockdown, is the HIIT workouts I've been doing. So normally the strength stuff's fine for me. So I'm building muscle, I'm looking strong, I'm feeling strong. But actually, that HIIT workout in the morning has been great for me. So that's where the kind of plateau has been broken for me and I'm out the other side. So make sure in your workouts you have a balance of HIIT or cardio. Now it doesn't have to be a HIIT workout, it could be some hill sprints. It could be going for a jog and putting some sprints into that. It can just be like getting outside with your skipping rope and, you know, working really hard for 30 seconds and then having that rest. But you want your heart rate to get up as high as it can and then get back down to a nice steady place before you head off again. So, foods to avoid. I really want to cover this because this is going to help, okay? Now, the worst foods in the whole mix of things, for me personally, are trans fats. They're basically a food where the oil has been chemically altered so that it just basically can stay on the shelf for longer, okay? Those are the kind of things that our bodies don't know how to utilise, and although we've become what we have over time, it kind of goes into our body and our body's like, oh, I don't really know what to do with that, I can't really use it for that workout, I can't really use it for like some brain functioning, the heart doesn't really need it, I'm just going to chuck it on her thighs and worry about that later. And then it kind of forgets. And that's where it stays. It kind of is not utilised. So when we're talking about like fats So people might say like something's high fat. So people will go and buy low fat yogurt. But what they've done is they've taken out the sugar and they've taken out the goodness and put a load of sugar in. And it sounds crazy because you'll be like, well, what? How can it be low fat if they've done that and added all the sugar? But that's how they get away with it. Like the industry of food is very complicated and none of us want to get into it. But don't go for the low fat, go for the natural. The natural food is what our body knows how to utilize. It's what it wants. It's what feeds us. It's what gets the brain going. It's what gets the muscles working and repairing. So just when you're looking at your food, just think, is this a natural food? Is this made in some factory and a fake food? Or is it, you know, can it stay in my fridge for 2 weeks? Those are the things that you kind of need to be looking at with your food. So on the list of foods of trans fats, cookies and cakes. Okay, we all love cookies and cakes, but what we're saying is, and I'm not saying like take these out of everything that you have, because again, it's balance. But if these are in your life on a daily basis, you absolutely need to be looking at these, okay? Cakes and cookies, frozen pies, some pizzas. Now you do need to look at your foods. If you want to really get into this and you really want to go for it, let me know and I'll send you a list of the names to look for within your foods. Margarine. Now, we used to say this at the Studio Bell Nutrition evening, but there's like a really key thing about a test that somebody did of putting margarine out where there was loads of flies and like flies wouldn't even touch it. Like margarine really isn't like a natural food at all. The oils that have gone into it again have been altered to make it long lasting, to make it spreadable. Get some butter, get some unsalted butter in your fridge and enjoy it on your toast, okay? You don't need to. Now, obviously, there's some people out there with diabetes and stuff like that. I'm not talking to you. I'm just talking to the normal standard people. If your doctor's told you to eat margarine, go eat margarine. But definitely be mindful of that. Biscuits, like we all know biscuits, but it's these kind of foods and this altering of the foods that they do something with it that just makes you not want to put it down. So when you pick up that packet of Hobnobs, you're not just going to eat the one, are you? You're going to want them all, because that's been put in there to do that to you, to switch something on in your brain that goes, oh my God, this is just amazing. I want more and I want more and I want more. However, if you don't have those things in the house, so I don't have biscuits in the house. However, if I go to my mum and dad's, they've always got biscuits in. I eat biscuits non-stop because it's not to do with willpower. It's to do with it being in your cupboard, and it's like standing in front of you with like £1 million and being like, don't touch it. Like of course you're going to want it. It's like being in the desert and seeing a mirage. Like it's something that your brain instantly switches onto and says, I love that. I want one of those. But for me, my way of not doing it is to not have these things in the house. That doesn't mean that we don't indulge every now and again, okay? When we go around to Josh's mum and dad's, we'll take some cookies with us. Without doubt, like we're not the perfect family of eating, okay? And I don't want to be. I do want to sometimes have those things. Other things on the list, pastries. Now, we all know how nice those pastries are. However, if you're having a pastry every day for breakfast, you need to stop, okay? That's one quick win that you can make in your day, is just to change over to something more natural. Desserts, obviously desserts, these things are made to stay in the fridge for a long time. And things like crackers you would think would be amazing, but definitely be checking those labels for the trans fats, because those are the buggers that are really going to be hindering your diet. Okay, next, so the food. So we need to go through the food groups. So you've got proteins, fats and carbs. Now you need to really be successful with your diet, you need to make sure at every meal there's some protein on your plate, okay? Now, protein comes in many forms, but obviously there'll be lots of people out there who might be like, okay, is this like, you can just Google a list of proteins if you want to make sure what's on your plate. However, an easy way to do it, you know, your eggs, your meat, your fish. If you're, you know, vegan, you've got some great sources of protein out there now. You know, you've got your chickpeas. Everybody's like loving chickpeas at the moment. And they definitely are like a staple piece in our house. Like, we're not vegan, but I definitely like a couple of nights a week where we're not eating any meat. So it is a nice little option. And actually, like, the calorie difference sometimes between the meat and the non-meat options is massive. So the next thing you want to be looking at is your carbs, okay? So people are like really nervous of carbs, and that absolutely isn't the case. However, you do need to be mindful of it, okay? Your protein needs to be the biggest thing on your plate. So if you're going out for dinner and you're ordering steak and chips, what you need to do is eat your steak first, because your steak has the proteins in it that tell your brain, actually, okay, I'm satisfied now. My hunger is satisfied. I'm okay to like just carry on with the evening. However, if you're munching away on your chips before you are your £20 steak, that's crazy. Like, eat the good thing first and then have a couple of chips at the end. But that's your main part of your meal, okay? So that's what you want to really, it's kind of telling yourself to refuel your body and getting away from that, like, what's yummy? Oh my God, I want all the yummy stuff. But it's so not about that. It's like taking your car to Morrison's and chucking a load of chocolate bars and Wotsits in the fuel tank. Like, it's not going to run. Okay, you've got to, I know that sounds like so cheesy, but it's so true. You need to think of your meals as like nourishment for your body. And if you're feeling a bit lower at the minute and you're feeling a bit crap, like that will just spiral. That will get you into wanting to eat bad food even more. And the good thing about food is that it can make you, 2 seconds, it can make you feel even better. Like if you're struggling mentally, food and fitness is like a massive part of making yourself feel better. I think, like, you know, we all look to the remedies and things like that, but definitely, and that's not saying like I don't take medication for any anxiety I have, because I'd quite happily put my hand up and say I absolutely do. But alongside that, then I make sure that my food is good and that I exercise. And lockdown would have literally knocked me off my feet had I not had those things in my locker to use. So I absolutely, you need to make sure that your food and your exercise is priority to you. Big thing, really big thing, and this is like really good. So when you serve up your dinner tonight, now this won't work for everybody because not everybody's got a partner. Let me have a bit of my tea. Have a look at your portion size and your partner's portion size. Now men, I think men are like 3,500 calories a day. Yet we sit there and we have the same portion size as our partners. Now, I bet if I asked a lot of you, you'd be like, oh my God, we absolutely do. When we sit down, we have the same portion. If you're eating the same portion size of your partner, you need to stop and take a look right now. So I will always make sure, and this is like a really good thing that somebody once told me. So I always eat out of like a pasta bowl. So Josh will have a plate, and Josh is really naughty. Like, Josh is a carb lover. So he often says like he really should have been a duck because he loves bread. But he'll like have a plate and his food is like literally just mounded up on this plate and like falling over. And mine's in this nice little bowl that actually comes up at the side so it's probably about the size of my hand, like the size of the inside of the pasta bowl because it's out the edges. And I'll always eat my dinner in that because it stops me just overfilling. And I sometimes think if you're one of those people who was taught as a child to eat everything on your plate, you will eat everything. So why not put what you want on your plate and say, right, if I eat that and I'm still hungry, I'm going to go back for more. But if I'm not hungry, I'm not going to. Portion sizes. So I had a lady, she's not actually on here today because she's working this morning. So she messaged me and said, I'm really struggling with like my weight's just plateauing, it's not doing anything despite working out. So I said to her, right, here's a food log, send me your food log next week and I'll have a look. And she was like, I'm being really good, but actually we noticed that she was having sugar every day for breakfast, so she was having loads of fruit on her breakfast, which actually some days was like bananas and strawberries, which was probably accounted for like another 150 calories every morning on top of what she should be having. So she was starting this day on this massive sugar rush and then she was crashing down. And then at like mid-morning, she was then getting like really hungry again. So we took the sugar out, made a big difference. And then we looked at portion sizes. And every week she's lost weight. Like that tiny change. And she was like, I can't believe it. And her portions was something that she was like, yeah, I probably could look at that. So that's all she's changed. She's still drinking. She's still enjoying her ice creams and blah, blah, blah. She's just changed her portions and sugar in the morning. So this is what I'm talking about. You don't have to go crazy. And you don't have to see like, oh, I just can't get started on this journey again because you might have been there before. Like you might have been to slimming clubs. You might have just been here before. But what you need to do is just make some little changes. Puts down the banana and strawberry smoothie. No, there is nothing wrong with that. But I just think, the thing is people think with fruit, they think it's really good. And it is really good. But it's also a sugar. So you have to be mindful of sugar in the morning is going to create this need for sugar for the rest of the day. So if so typically I'm really boring. So every morning I have yogurt and granola. Like, I'm just boring. But I know I have 150 grams of yogurt, and that's not because I'm like mega weigher. I know that my tub comes in 450 and it does 3 portions, so I know there's 150 grams in there. And then I sprinkle some granola over the top. Really high protein because your yogurt, and also the granola is all made from nuts and seeds. So again, loads of protein. Protein first thing in the morning is the best start to any day. So if you can have protein in the morning, like eggs for breakfast is like the perfect start. If you're having like big porridge, carby porridge and bananas on top, like again, big sugar rush for your body to deal with. And probably if you are then hungry by mid-morning, that's where you're going wrong. So I tend to have 3 meals a day. I definitely make sure, we do a lot of gusto cooking, which has been amazing actually, because it's really made Josh step out of his comfort zone of things that he likes. And we've just had hope, it's all fresh meals. And actually, people think that it costs money, but it's saved us so much money. We pay £29 a week for 3 meals, and those 3 meals are just for 2 people. And it normally feeds the kids as well, so we're all eating for £30 a week. And then we go and do a Lidl shop every 2 weeks to get like the odd bits of nappies and yogurts and things like that for the fridge. So scrambled eggs, spinach, ham to start, perfect. Perfect start to the day. Gusto has helped me so fab. It really, really is. Like, Gusto is amazing. And it just gives some inspiration to kind of get out of the rut you're in. And everything's there. Like, you haven't got to be some mega chef. Everything is there for you to just make your meals. And you almost feel like really, it's, me and Josh say, like, in the evenings now that we really love dinner time. Like, we get the kids to bed and we sit down and eat, like, this lovely meal. It's so nice. Egg, spinach, mushrooms. Yes, definitely. Definitely, like those things. You can make frittatas, you can make, so for the kids, you can make banana pancakes. So all you need for banana pancakes is 1 banana and 1 egg. Mix it up, get it in a nice hot pan with some oil, flip it over, put on some yogurt. It's the kids, give them some fruit. And fruit isn't like a bad thing, like a sprinkling of blueberries and stuff like that is a good thing. That is a good thing. It's 1 of your 5 a day, get it in there. What is not bad is when you've got like your big mound of fruit on top. I love nothing more than like a banana and peanut butter smoothie every now and again. So it's fine. But it's when you're having like your granola, your yogurt, your fruit, and then afterwards you've had like but it's kind of just drawing it back in, looking at the portion control and looking at your calories over the day. So if you're hitting 2,000 calories, it's going, right, okay, so I'm going to hit 500 calories for breakfast. I'm going to have a little bit more for lunch at 6, and then I'm going to have a big dinner and maybe a snack afterwards. It is quite easy to like look at it when you want. Adding cinnamon to fruit helps avoid the sugar spike. Look at that. Caroline, really? I didn't know that. Wowzers. Don't all go like eating loads of sugar now with cinnamon on. I'm definitely going to sprinkle cinnamon on my fruit. That's amazing. I love that. Oh, well done. Anybody wants to put anything in here, like let's make it as interactive as we can. Right, next thing. So ways to increase your metabolism, okay? Now these are just easy wins. So I hope you've got like a notebook. This will go on YouTube. So if you want to go back and make any notes, they can be just things maybe you just put on the fridge and just be mindful of. Let me go back. I've got this all in the book. I'm all very organised. So easy ways to boost your metabolism. So I've said it before, but protein at every meal, okay? Oh, you put cinnamon in your yogurt. Well done, Patricia. Drink water. Like, water is a great metabolism startup. Like, everybody feels a bit sluggish. If you are not drinking enough water, it sounds gross, but the stool is probably sat in your bowel. Then you're gaining loads of water. Your water retention goes crazy. You feel sluggish. You feel rubbish. Get water going in the system. Get that bowel nice and fresh and healthy and full of water in a good way. But also, the more water that you drink, the less water that you will retain. So make sure water is like a big part of your day. HIIT workouts. So we've spoke about that. HIIT workouts will definitely increase your metabolism and for hours after. So a good thing to do is to do it in the morning, okay? That's not saying if you've only got nighttime available. I would always as well eat after my HIIT workout. So if I was going to do an 8 a.m. HIIT, I wouldn't have breakfast before. I'd eat it afterwards when my body's like calling for some good nutrition afterwards. That's the time to put in some really nice stuff in the morning, okay? Lift heavy things. So again, we said HIIT and then resistance training. So the more muscle you've got in your body, the more metabolism, the higher your metabolism will be. Okay, so it really does ramp things up having some muscle in your body. So that's what we want to do, okay? Build some lean muscle. Green tea, do you know what? I really was on the green tea thing for a while and I've totally got off it. But also, like, a lot of people are just like, I hate green tea. And my way of doing it was, so I used to have like 2 or 3 cups a day. But I would make it, I would let it go cold, and then I would just drink it down in one. So it's not something for me that like I like to sip or like to enjoy. Some people do, some people absolutely love it. It, for me, a normal, lovely, strong cup of tea is my thing. But green tea is a good way to lift that metabolism. Spicy food. So I always used to put like chili powder in my eggs and stuff. And there's loads of people who are like, oh, I'm not sure about that. But spicy foods definitely lift your metabolism. We won't talk about the curry effect and things like that. Like, it does definitely ramp things up. So a big thing, and this is so like, it kind of goes back and forth because one helps the other, but a good night's sleep. So everybody's like, oh God, she's talking about the sleep thing. But it's so important, so important. Now, if you're not getting your sleep, your hormones aren't balanced, okay? So everything needs time in the evening to repair, to rebalance, to get ready, to, you know, for everything to get back to normal. It's like plugging your phone in overnight, okay? You wouldn't just let it get to 50% and then unplug it and expect it to last the day. Like, it won't. So you need to go to sleep. You need to be getting like 6 to 8 hours, okay? And your best time to sleep, they say, is between 10 and 2. So it's no good going to bed at like 2 a.m. but then lying until lunchtime. That's just going to make you feel crap. But the whole thing of like getting a good night's sleep is, one, that it reduces your stress. And two, I don't know where I've written this bit down. That it's basically, you've got two hormones, okay? Good morning, Francesca. You've got 2 hormones. One is ghrelin and one is leptin, okay? Now, ghrelin stimulates the appetite and leptin decreases it. Now, when you are tired, so it should be in a balance, okay? So one creeps up and the other one creeps down and you just work to either way, okay? Now, when you don't get enough sleep, the appetite goes through the roof and the leptin drops down. So you literally just wake up like hungry and probably quite stressed and probably then unable to make the right decisions. So a big part of your brain that focuses on decision making is your hypothalamus. Now, if that is not recovered overnight, that will not make any good decisions. So you tell yourself, okay, I'm going to be really good today. I'm going to be, or you say the night before, right, tomorrow I'm going to be really organised. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do this. This will be loads of people, I know it will be. And then at 10 o'clock, they've like already caved to the biscuit. But it's probably because they've had a really bad night's sleep. They've got up, they've tried to fight the decision and they can't. Their brain will not say, I don't want that. No, I want to. But if they had a good night's sleep, it probably would have. So there'll be lots of people out there that suffer with insomnia. So I won't, like, I don't suffer with sleep problem, but I have got myself into a nice routine that at 10 o'clock, 10, half 10, most nights I am in bed. And Josh is like, oh God, you're going to bed before me. But it's like, yeah, I am. He gets up in the morning grumpy and tired because he hasn't got a good night's sleep. But your brain, it all sounds quite crazy, but we are like robots. We do need to recharge. We do need to repower, and no sleep, especially now because it's lockdown. Everybody's like, oh, it doesn't matter. I've got nothing to do tomorrow. Your body needs you to have that sleep. And whether you wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning, it doesn't matter because you've been in bed since 10. You've had 8 hours. Your body's going to be buzzing and going, right, let's go for a workout and let's eat some good food today. So that's one thing that definitely needs to be on your test. Lunchtime munchies. Nighttime munchies, sorry. Nighttime munchies. I'll go on to that in a minute. I never knew that reference to decision making. I know, it's crazy, isn't it? But I kind of feel like this stuff that you're like, oh yeah, that's why I was really bad this morning because I had a really bad night's sleep last night. So it's kind of just going, not being frustrated with yourself and saying, oh, why can't you just do what everybody else does? Why can't you just make a good decision and not have the bad thing? Like that is the conversations that we have with ourselves. So you need to stop that. Okay, I'm going back now because I'd gone the wrong page. So here's my 10 top tips, okay? So this is the 10 top tips. Now you'll want to write these down. I'll try and put them in a letter format so you can kind of use them. So going through everything that we've worked at, here's my advice from that stuff that we've talked at and also like working with PT clients and personal advice. So input your food every kind of 4 weeks on MyFitnessPal. If you're doing really well, you don't need to, but if you feel like you've fallen by the wayside a bit, get back on there. And it does feel like for the first week a lot of work because you will have to input a lot of stuff. However, sometimes we do have to work really hard to get something that we really want. So just tell yourself, do you know what? It is a bit of a ball ache, but I'm going to do it just for a week just to see myself. And you will, honestly, you will really surprise yourself with the calories and the foods that are good for you and how you haven't actually undone all your hard work. Hello, Andrina. Adjust your portion sizes. So definitely be looking at your dinners. Find a bowl in your cupboard or buy a pasta bowl or choose a little plate. Look at your portion sizes and just think, do you know what? I could probably save 100 calories every night just on my portion control because it definitely is the same size as my partner's or my dad across the table or my brother. Sleep well. Absolutely. Just try and go, and if you're like a 12 o'clock normally, just try and go a little bit earlier. Like don't overhaul your whole life. And don't forget, from this list of 10, you've only got to pick a couple. You haven't got to do all of this. This is just some hints and tips to help you, okay? Make sure you're eating protein, fats and carbs on your plate. So look at it. You can always just Google lists of proteins, fats and carbs and it'll give you a bit of an idea. But definitely make sure the protein is what you're focusing on, okay? That's what you want to eat first. That's what tells your brain, okay, I'm satisfied now. And then it can come back down to a normal level and you'll be like, I don't need any more of this. This is fine. Stay away from trans fats as much as you can, okay? So then trans fats that we spoke about, those are the things. If you're having one of them every day, you're going to struggle. However, if you're having treats, it's okay. Every now and again, balance, make sure you do it. More exercise, more walking, more cleaning, more doing things. Like when we said 250 calories, that's all you've got to do, a little bit extra every day. And then you might say, actually, tomorrow I'm going to have a break, so I'm going to do 500 the next day. Or you might do a big walk today. On your clock, it might say you've burned 500 calories. So you think, actually, tomorrow I could just have a little bit of a restful day. Pick some of those metabolism boosters that I've just been through, okay? So maybe you'll just say, do you know what, for this week, I am just going to try some green tea. Or some spicier food, or I'm going to do some HIIT workouts. Or again, there was lots of advice on those. You don't have to do all of them. Just pick one or two and maybe just write down these things. So write down the metabolism boosters, write down the top tips and pick 2 for this week and then 2 for next week. And then you'll be able to try a little bit of everything. Keep a journal. Now this is so important. So, and if anybody wants a food log, let me know and I will send you one. All you need to do is send me your email address and I'll send you the one that we use. But to be fair, like just a book, I always have just like a book hanging around. It's a nice excuse to go on somewhere nice and find yourself a nice book. And it's always nice to look back. So you should put in all your food and your exercise for the week, but also like how you felt. So like you might get to Sunday and be like, oh, I'm really proud of myself this week. Like I've done really well. I've taken on what Angie said. I've done a couple of metabolism boosters. I've done a couple of her top tips. I'm feeling really good. Then the next week you might change it. And then you can start to see like what's working for you and what's not working. And there'll be some weeks where you'll be like, yeah, I didn't like that. I didn't like the HIIT workouts. I don't want to do them anymore. However, I did like the strength-based stuff and I do like this. So get yourself a journal. Start this journal now, okay? It can be a new thing you can do. We've all got loads of time, okay? Even if you're working, you're not out socialising in the evenings like you were. We're not going to the pub. We're not going to the cinema. Everybody's got a little bit of time that they can do this, okay? Have your book with you at all times. So you can write down all your meals, write down all your exercise. Almost get excited about going to your book because it's almost like your friend that you're telling all about your day at the moment. And then reading through in the week and then kind of summarising your week. And you'll find like it does start to make you feel like really proud of the things that you're doing. And number 9, expect small changes. So I think that's like really key. And I spoke about it at the beginning, but you cannot expect like, I'm 40 next week. I can't expect like something I've been doing for 40 years. So if I said, I'm not going to brush my teeth anymore, I've been doing that for 40 years, a couple of times a day. I can't just then say, right, I'm not going to do that anymore. Like I'd have to like change. And it would take me time to change, and the results, orange teeth, would take time to come. But you just need to make sure that you are being like really realistic, and just saying I'm not actually doing this to like be really skinny, and I'm not doing it to be perfect. I'm just doing it to be a bit healthier, to be kinder to my body, to feel better about myself in clothes, to help me exercise a little bit more. So just make sure that those are the things that you're focusing on and that you're allowing yourself to enjoy, okay? And lastly is to do your pictures and measurements. Now, this is so important. So if you're like, right, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do a month of doing what Angie said, but today you have to do your pictures and measurements. Now, if you don't have a tape measure, don't worry about it. Now, don't use a metal one, okay? I've had people before, like, it doesn't really adjust very well. Now, if you've got like a nice material tape measure, you want to do your bust. I would always do it with PT clients on their nipples, okay? So I would make sure a partner stands behind you, put your tape measure on your nipples, get the person behind you to stand there. Make sure they're not pulling it really tight or leaving it too loose, that it's nice steady standard. You might want to do it yourself, that's absolutely fine. Nipples never move, okay? They are where they are. Next one would be your belly button. Again, it doesn't move, so it's a good pointer. Now, if your belly button is in a different place to like a fat zone you don't like around your tummy, do it there as well, okay? Then you want to do your hips. So you want to do it just under your bum cheeks, okay, around here. Make sure your feet are together and that you're doing it there. Then I would do above the knees. I would also do single top of the legs, okay? So this is the area we all hate. So make sure you do the top of your thighs. And then I would also do your arms. So like, I don't worry about my arms, but that's because I work out. But anybody who's like, my arms are like my biggest zone, do your arms, okay? Next, then I want you to take a picture. So on your phone, set it up like this. You're going to stand opposite the camera, put on your timer, take a picture, then to the side, then to the back, then to the front. Okay, so you've got 4 pictures. And I would do that in like your pants and bra, okay? That's like a really good thing to do. You could definitely use some string and then put it on a tape measure if you don't have one of those. It's a great idea, Jem. But pictures and measurements are where the results really come in. Now, people who've been working out for the last 10 weeks with me who didn't take any pictures, so frustrating. Because without doubt, if you've been working out with me like 3 times a week, your body will have changed, whether you like it or not. Now, you might have been eating really naughty, so you might have just not feel it. It might be underneath. But if we start putting this nutrition in now, we'll start to see the changes as we lose a bit of weight and uncover the body. So yeah, so that's kind of my advice to you without being too strict and without being too... So somebody just asked which pizzas are okay. So now's the point to get some questions up. If you want to ask a question, don't be shy. I'm not like some nutrition expert. I am, like I just said, just a normal person doing it. It's saying I've only got 1 minute 56 left, so we're going to have to do it because it's only an hour that we can record for. I can't believe I've been on for an hour. So pizzas, personally, for pizzas for me, I would never have like a bought pizza from somewhere unless it was like a homemade one. So we go to, everybody knows, we go to the Prince Leopold in Upton Lovell. We have pizzas from there. If I'm buying one myself, I love the Lidl or the Aldi sourdough ones. Like, they're really good. They're really nicely. Sourdough is fermented, so it's good for the gut. And also, like, if you're just going to have a treat night once a week, well, what's wrong with that? Like, enjoy something. And like I said, with those trans fats, don't be too strict on it. Make sure that you are actually enjoying some of your treats. And make sure that if you're having a treat, that it is a treat night. Not a treat day, not a treat weekend. I always give myself normally a couple of hours, especially when like X Factor's on. I'll say, right, 2 hours on a Saturday night, I can eat whatever I want. So all week I'll get all this lovely food in that I want. I don't eat half of it because the first thing I've eaten, I'm like, oh, I'm stuffed. But it gives me time to tell myself mentally, I can have whatever I want on Saturday. What yogurt do you have for breakfast? And can I have your recipe for granola? Yeah, recipe for granola is really easy. So I go to Lidl, I buy mixed nuts, mixed seeds, and I cook them with some oats, 2 cups of oats, some honey and some cinnamon, cook it in the oven for 15 minutes and that's it. This is going to kick me off in 23 seconds, but I feel like people still have some questions. So if you've got some questions, I'm going to come back on again because I really don't want it to finish this way. Can you give me advice for children who need to lose body fat? Yep. I'm going to stop this and then I'm going to come back on, okay? So come back on.